when he calls you and he lays out the idea of being an Iraqi sympathizer, when in real life there's so much stuff. I'm not going to do a modern comparison of what that would mean today, but you can imagine, do you want to be Putin's pal? But like there's they give you this gimmick, the Iraqi sympathizer. Did you when you agreed to do it, did you expect that it was going to be it was going to rile people up as much as it did?
Oh, I figured it was going to piss some people off. Yeah, a lot of people. I just wasn't expecting it. I thought when he called me and I told my wife I'm going to go have a meeting with Vince McMahon, and she said, I know he's going to take G.I. Joe, Sgt Slaughter, the real American hero, and make him the real American hero. And I said, I think he is. And we were all happy. And when I get to Vince's house and I find out he wants me to be the Iraqi sympathizer, I thought he wanted to make Hulk Hogan the villain, but I was completely fooled. And so when he started laying out the idea, the thing that sold it to me wasn't so much the playing that character, but it was supposed to be in a 104,000 seat LA Coliseum, which would break the record of WrestleMania 3. That was my whole incentive, was to have my name next to Hulk Hogan's and saying sold out. When you have a sold out on something like that, that puts a big medal on your chest no matter what or where you go. They said he sold out LA Coliseum 104,000. That's a big medal. So that's what I went for. And so everything that I did was for that. The danger I put myself in. I wasn't thinking about my family being in danger, but they ended up being in danger too. It got so hot, what we call nuclear heat. They don't have that anymore, but we had nuclear heat, and I couldn't go anywhere. They asked me to wear bulletproof vests when I wrestled. They had these police officers came in and said, "You don't realize, I guess, how much danger you're in, but we get death threats on you all day long, and not only here at the arenas, but at your home. But we have these new mesh things that we want you to wear, just to wear it in your ring. See if just to give us a peace of mind." So I wore it for about 3 weeks, and it was just cutting off my air. I couldn't get enough energy going, so I just quit wearing it. But anytime sometimes the old days, they take a cup, little kids, and they go, wham, and a big pop. Maybe I should have kept that vest on, but I got shot at. I got stabbed 4 times. I went through a lot, and the whole reason I went for it was because of that 104,000 Coliseum sellout. And when Vince called me one day about a month before, and he said, "Got some bad news." He said, we can't go into the Coliseum. And I said, "What? Why?" "Well, they want $5 million to secure the building." And I said, "And you're not going to pay it?" He said, "No, I'm not going to pay it. That's robbery." And so he said, "We're just going to go into the arena where we can control a lot better." And that just broke my heart, really, because that's the only reason I did the whole thing. I've made so many, even my family, not my personal family, but relatives, some of my uncles that were in the military, they tell, "Bobby, what are you doing? Are you crazy? You're an Iraqi sympathizer?" I said, "No, it's just a character I'm playing." And the people, the news and all the media people would call my father up, and he'd be in bed at 9, 10 o'clock at night, phone would be ringing. "Hello, your son's an Iraqi sympathizer. What do you got to say about that?" And it just, all these things that happened, it was just for naught because of that phone call. I said, I did all of this, got stabbed, they got, put my family in danger. And it just, that's the only reason I did it, and was for that, the glory, the ego of being the number one guy of selling out coliseum like that.
One of the things that's interesting is there was a photo that they put on WWF TV of you, Saddam Hussein, and General Adnan. I mean, you're not exactly inviting good vibes when you're putting that out on TV. How is that pitched to you that photo is going to be put out? Like, what were you thinking?
Yeah. Well, as I told Vince, if you want me to do this, I want to go all the way. And he said, oh, yeah, you just go. You do everything you want to do. If you go too far over the line, I'll pull you back. I'll pull the reins. So one day we were going to a studio, and I looked at the limo driver, and General Adnan, I don't know if anybody knew General Adnan, but he looked like Saddam Hussein anyway, and he knew him, didn't like him, went to college with him, hated him actually. And so we took a picture with this limo driver, like, hey, and then as soon as the picture was done, we cut the limo driver out, and we got a picture of Saddam in there, and it looked just like we were with Saddam Hussein. And so I gave it to Vince, and he goes, that is incredible. How did you do that? You know, I said, well, I did it. And so we play it, put it on the air. Sarge, I got to pull you back a little bit. That was a great idea, but my sponsors and a couple TV stations called and said they're going to kick us off the air if I ever put that on the air again. So get rid of that picture, whatever you do. Don't ever show that again. So, but that's the lengths that we, Saddam's birthday. I'd go to an arena, it'd be Saddam's birthday, and I'd have the announcer say, because if I tried to talk, they would boo me out. So the announcer would go, ladies and gentlemen, Sgt Slaughter and General Adnan would like to have you all stand up and sing happy birthday to Saddam Hussein. It's his birthday today. And we'd have a cake come out, all with the candles lit, and happy birthday to you. And I mean, the people were coming over the railings, and I would time it so that my opponent's music would start playing, and he would come in, and of course they'd throw the cake in my face, and that would be over with. But that's the kind of things we did. Most of the time, every night, I would tell the announcer to make this announcement. I'd have a piece of paper, read this, and he'd do it. No, I'm not reading that. You read it, or I'll put you in the Cobra clutch, you maggot. Well, Sgt Slaughter and General Adnan have asked me politely to read this to all of you. Today is Veterans Day in Iraq, and they'd like you all to stand up and give 10 seconds of silence to all the brave Iraqi soldiers who died in the overtake of Kuwait. Well, tell you what, they were coming. They weren't liking that at all. So we did all kinds of things to irritate the people, but that was, I can't say that it was hilarious, but it was fun. It was to piss people off that much that they would actually believe that that we were doing that.
Well, you come in, you're doing the angle, and then you get put with the Ultimate Warrior for the WWF title at the Royal Rumble 1991. What was it like working with the Ultimate Warrior?
Like working with you.
That's the worst insult I've ever had.
Yeah, it was stiff. Yeah. No, he was a non-stop guy. He didn't. The minute his music played, he didn't stop moving till you beat him up enough to get him down. But he was not a treat to work with, and he had a one avenue. That's all. He went one way, and that was it. And he's very egomaniac. I mean, he was believing in his character. When I get done wrestling and I put my outfit in my bag and put my campaign cover in my bag, and I get in my car, I kind of become myself again. But I'm still Sarge, because you don't know if fans are going to see you in that. But once I walked in my home, I was not. My wife wouldn't allow me in that house. There wasn't one picture of me ever in my wrestling outfit in our home. I had a little office. I could sneak a few pictures in of me holding the title or whatever. But he was just a on another wavelength. And what happened was he was wrestling Macho Man, and Macho Man broke his wrist, or I should say, Ultimate Warrior broke Macho Man's wrist. And so Vince called me, Sarge. Yeah, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, what's going on? Changing plans. Warrior broke Macho's wrist last night, so I got to put you in his spot because he's got a heel, and you got to take his spot. I hope you're ready. I said, I guess I better get ready. So, and they were already into like cage matches. You know, their program was already into those types of matches. So I walking right into a hornet's nest. And so we're having these matches, and it was just crazy. One time we had a cage match in New Haven Coliseum, and while we were having the match and I was getting the best of the Ultimate Warrior, a guy from the front row jumped out of his seat, climbed up the cage, and jumped into the cage and started going after me with a knife. And next thing I see, the Nasty Boys slide into the cage, and they take this guy and beat him to a pulp. And we get out of there, and I thanked him and everything. And about a week later, we get a call from a show. I think it's called, it's back on the air, but this guy would try to go find fugitives. And he said, Most Wanted. I think the name of the show was Most Wanted. And he came to us and said, I just want to thank you guys. Well, why? He was a fugitive we've been looking for. And he was at the matches, and he got so mad at you, he actually climbed up and wanted to kill you, and we caught him, and now he's in jail, you know. And I just want to thank you. If you want some of the reward, you're welcome to it. I said, no, you give it to charity, you know. So a lot of crazy things happen.
Another crazy thing that happened, when you won the WWF title from Ultimate Warrior at Royal Rumble 91, 2 days before that, President Bush launches Operation Desert Storm. So the Gulf War is happening in real life.
Right.
And you are on TV as Mr. Iraq, basically, with a Saddam Hussein lookalike by your side.
Yeah.
Thoughts? What was going through your head when you find out that this is really escalating in real life?
Once you get into a character, you go all the way with it. And like I said, that thought of that 104,000, that was what I was shooting for, you know. And so you did some crazy things, and just to have when it finally came down to Vince was having problems with the Ultimate Warrior also, and several times he had problems with him, and it got down to where Macho Man's wrist healed, so now it's time for them to go back and redo their feud, and so I'm in this match not knowing what's happening. And I got the Ultimate Warrior in a pretty good position, and the referee tells me to get back, and I hear this big bang, and I look over at the referee's shoulder, and I see Macho Man running off with not Miss Elizabeth, Sherry, Sensational Sherry, and I thought, what the hell did they do, you know? So I go over and I want to pull the Warriors on the second rope, just laying there, and I go to like pull him up, and my hands go right off. He's dead weight, and I come on, and I pull him back in, and he's knocked out. He's out cold. So what the hell? So I'll give him a big elbow. That'll wake him up. So I give him a big elbow, boom, and I take my time. I go to cover him, 1, 2, and I expect him to kick out, and 3. The new champion. I'm the new champion, and we never knew that was going to happen. So Macho Man was so mad at him for breaking this. Macho Man was a perfectionist, and if you messed up a match with him, he held a grudge against you. And boy, he gave him he took a scepter and hit him over the head, right between the eyes. When I got up from the Ultimate Warrior, he had glass stuck in his head from that scepter that he got hit with. And he finally woke up enough, and he rolled out, and he ran kind of halfway back to the dressing room. And when I got back there, they were going at it, he and Macho Man. And Macho Man had locked himself in a room, and they were banging on each other, and it was horrible. But there I was, the world champion. So now everything's changed. Now I got to do all these promos that I'm wrestling Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania because he won the Royal Rumble that same night. So we were like 3 o'clock in the morning doing promos. If you ever see a picture, I've got a purple belt on my shoulder with a helmet on, and Hulk and I are face to face. And that's a live picture. And Hulk had he had already showered and was ready to go. And Vince called me, no, you got to do these pictures. You're his opponent. So we got to do it now. And so I have a purple belt because that's what the Warrior brought to the ring. And Hulk was mad because it wasn't the black belt. And he said, where's the black belt? Where's the black belt? McMahon, where's the black belt? He didn't bring the black belt. He brought the purple belt. That's history. Just take the picture. And by the way, stand on his box so you're taller than the Sarge. Oh, boy. If you look at that picture, there's hate out of Hulk Hogan. He is so mad because he had to oil up after he showered, and he was barefoot because he didn't put his boots back on, and he's only about 6'2" naturally, but with his lifters and everything, he's quite large. So now he's really mad because he's got to stand on a box to be taller than me. So anyway,
You mentioned Randy Savage. Have you got any good memories of Randy Savage from working with him or being around him? I think that's a yes.
God bless his soul. Well, Randy he was so in love with Miss Elizabeth, and I never wrestled Randy. I think I maybe was in a couple of battle royals with him, but I never wrestled him. I would love to have wrestled him. And so one time we were on an airplane, and Randy and Miss Elizabeth had broken up. They were separated. And so I got onto the plane, and Randy's sitting there, and he said, hey, Sarge, you got any music, like country music? I'm really feeling bad. I said, yeah, here. So I used to make cassette tapes of my favorite songs. And so I gave it to him. And we were going from like New York to L.A. or something. This was a long trip. And so we get off the plane, and there's Randy off the plane waiting for me. And tears are coming down his face, and he hands me the tape back. He says, thanks, Sarge. If I wasn't depressed enough, you give me this tape. It's all country songs, and where am I going to live when I get home? There was a song by some country artist is, where am I going to live when I get home? And so he just made me laugh, and he was just one of those characters. He was a hell of a guy, a really misunderstood person. He was very temperamental, but he was a tough cookie.
And then, you and General Adnan are together, and then you bring in a very familiar-looking guy who is called Colonel Mustafa.
Yeah.
How do you end up with him? What was
God
Vince's
only
idea for him to be involved?
Well, we got this thing going pretty good with General Adnan and I, and we lost the title at WrestleMania 7, and it was just, we wanted to keep it going. So Vince came to me and said, Sarge, I'm going to put General or Colonel Mustafa with you. And I said, Colonel Mustafa, who the hell's that? He said, the Iron Sheik. He owes me some money. And I figured if I put him with you, I'd get some of my money back. I said, okay, fine. Because I knew Cosgrove very well, and I wanted to help him out. So he became Colonel Mustafa, and he walked to the ring like the soldier. And we had a lot of good times, a lot of fun matches. And So Colonel Mustafa, we became the Triangle of Terror. We were that was our name, the Triangle of Terror, and so it was a good time, a lot of fun, and we took care of Cosgrove. You know, we gave him rides, and he was down on his luck pretty bad. He was really messed up on the drugs and everything, and he one time got pulled into the office, and Vince said, Cosgrove, you tested positive to the drug test. And Cosgrove said, there, you see, Colonel Mustafa, clean, good, healthy guy. No. You tested positive. That's, you got to test negative. Oh, well, must be a mistake. No, it's not a mistake. Yeah, not a mistake. So we had to help him, and you know he got suspended for a little while without pay, and so he was kind of hurting a little bit there.
How did he feel about being part of the Iraqi sympathizer group?
Oh, he loved it. He loved anything to do with Sgt Slaughter because we made a lot of money together. Yeah.